I've sewn a few chalk and notch patterns on this channel, but this one has turned out to be my favorite. This is the Max T, a boxy style knit blouse. I'm sewing the cropped length of view B with the neckline facing of view A. A few tools I'm using in this video are clear elastic to stabilize my shoulder seams, a walking foot to prevent waviness in my stitching, knit interfacing to add structure to the armhole facings, knit stay tape to stabilize the hem, and Tailor's Hams to press the curved areas. I've linked all of these products in the description below. The fabric I've chosen for this video is a loose weave sweater knit, nice and breathable for summertime. So go grab a knit fabric that you love and sew a cute top with me. Place your front and back pieces right sides together and pin the shoulder seams. Sew with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. It may not be necessary for you to finish those raw edges, especially if your knit fabric does not fray, but I will be finishing the edges with my serger, and for these particular seams, I'm also going to be adding clear elastic as I serge. I'm just going to cut 2 pieces of clear elastic to fit these shoulders and catch the elastic as I finish those edges. And you can press those seams toward the back. Now we're going to pin the side seams. Sew both seams with a 3/8 inch seam allowance, finish the edges if needed, and press them toward the back. I've gone ahead and applied stretch interfacing to the wrong sides of both of my armhole facing pieces, for the front and the back. Now I'm going to finish each of the outer edges with my serger. I'm also going to finish the bottom curved edges for both of my neckline facing pieces. I'll place my front and back neckline facing pieces right sides together and pin the shoulder seams. I'll also place the front and back armhole facings right sides together and pin the shoulder seams and the side seams. Sew each of these seams with a 3/8 inch seam allowance and press the seams open. Place the corresponding armhole facing right sides together with its armhole matching the notches. Pin in place all the way around, making sure to also match the seams. Repeating for both armholes. Then we can sew both of the facings in place with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. At this point, you can trim those seam allowances by half, or grade the seam allowances as directed in the pattern instructions if your material is a bit thicker. Because the material I'm working with is a little bit fiddly, I'm actually going to skip this step. I'm going to clip into the curves all the way around, being careful not to clip through the stitching line. And I'm going to trim some fabric away at the underarm point, angling my scissors toward the stitching line at the point. Then we're going to understitch the armholes. We're going to turn those facings over their seam allowances and then stitch the facing to its seam allowance all the way around with about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, doing this on both sides. Now we can turn our facings to the inside of the armhole and give those seams a good press. Using a tailor's ham is a nice way to press and manage the curves of that armhole. I'm going to turn my blouse inside out And I'll pin my facings to the bodice all the way around close to my finishing stitches. Edge stitch the facing in place all the way around, edge stitching close to our finishing stitches, sewing from the wrong side of the garment. Then give those armholes a press. Now we can start attaching the neck facing. Once again, placing the facing and the garment right sides together, aligning the center front, center back, and the seams. Pin in place all the way around. Sew in place with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. I'm choosing to skip the trimming of the seam allowance once again, but it is recommended in the pattern instructions. Now we're going to understitch as we did for the sleeve facings, flipping this neckline facing over its seam allowance, and then sewing the facing with about 1/8 inch seam allowance to its seam allowance. Turn the garment inside out, and I'm going to press my facing to the inside. Once again, using a tailor's ham for those curves if you have one. Then we can pin in place along the finished edges. Take it to your machine and edge stitch close to your finishing stitches all the way around exactly as we did for the armholes, and then give the neckline a press. I've given the neckline a good press, and now we're ready to hem the garment. I'm going to turn the garment inside out. For the bottom hem, I've applied knit stay tape all around the bottom edge. The hem allowance is 3/4 inch, so the pattern recommends 3/4 inch knit stay tape. Now that I have the knit stay tape applied, I'm also going to finish the raw edges all the way around. And once it's finished, press that hem to the wrong side right along the upper edge of your interfacing. Then I'm going to top stitch, edge stitching close to my finishing stitches all the way around the bottom of the garment. Give everything a nice press and your top is complete. Thanks for watching this sew along. Here's the final top, and I've sewn a size 0. Please subscribe to the channel so you're alerted of the next video, and I'll see you very soon.